So the 2021 NBA offseason was actually pretty interesting. We had a couple of winners and a couple of losers, as we usually do every offseason. But the thing is, this offseason, the winners who were talked about the most were the Chicago Bulls and the Los Angeles Lakers, who in my opinion were the two biggest winners of the offseason, so they do deserve to be talked about. But no one is really talking about the New York Knicks and all the great moves they made this offseason. So in today's video, I'll be discussing the New York Knicks and all the moves they made this offseason and explaining why they are one of the biggest winners of the 2021 NBA offseason. Before we get into the video, I ask you to drop a like on this video as it does help my channel grow. Subscribe to my channel if you want more NBA content like this, because I post literally every single day. Also, if you want to help me reach my goal of 1,500 subscribers, also drop a comment on this video to start a conversation with me, because I do respond to all of my comments. And play that intro. Start off, the biggest reason the New York Knicks are winners of this year offseason has to be due to the fact that, as we all know, last season the only reason the Knicks were good was because of their fantastic defense, as the Knicks ranked 3rd in defensive rating last season and 1st in opponents' points per game, meaning they were best at holding opponents to the least amount of points per game. But they ranked as the 4th worst offense last season, so that's clearly their biggest weakness, and this was due to the fact that they didn't have enough 3-point shooting and just enough good perimeter scores, and that was obviously something they had to fix this offseason, and fix that they did, as they would sign Evan Fournier to a 4-year $78 million deal. Though a lot of people like to claim that it's an overpay, I'm not gonna lie, it kind of is, as they will be paying him $19.5 million a year. But the thing is, they really need a guy who can help them out on the offensive side of the floor, and Fournier can do just that, as he was nearly a 20 points per game scorer in Orlando. At least he's a guy who can create his own shot at a decent level, and he can also create plays for others. He can handle the ball. He's an exceptional 3-point shooter, as he did shoot 41% from 3, and he's just a guy who can make difficult shots, and I think that's exactly the type of player the New York Knicks need. He can also move off the ball, so he's not going to be ball dominant. And I don't mind them overpaying for him a bit, because if they wanted to get him, they had to overpay for him, because other teams are offering similar offers. Signing Fournier might be their best signing of the offseason. I think it's really underrated. But that's not the only offensively minded move they made. They also signed the bought out Kemba Walker. And I know there's a lot of negativity surrounding Kemba's name right now, but don't forget, just 2 years ago he was legitimately starting in the All-Star game. And I don't think it's crazy to think that if he could stay healthy, he could be an All-Star caliber point guard again. Not saying he's gonna go back to his prime, but maybe he could be like a top 10 point guard again. And other people complaining about Kemba Walker's defense don't realize that the Knicks are literally a top 3 defense in the league, meaning they can hide his weaknesses. And on this team, Kemba will likely be the 2nd or 3rd option, and I would just hope he could be more consistent on this team, because they're gonna need him. But I feel like a new change of scenery will help him play simply way better. He's gonna be able to handle the ball at an elite level, create his own shot, space the floor, create plays for others, and attack the rim. I truly believe this is gonna be a great signing, and even if he doesn't do that well, they didn't overpay for him crazily or anything like that, so they could just bench him if he's terrible. Another reason the Knicks are winners of the offseason is due to the fact that they nearly kept their whole core from previous seasons. When you're a team like the Knicks that hadn't made the playoffs in 6 years, then you randomly make it in 2020, you have to re-sign most of the players who were there. The Knicks also extended Julius Randle's contract, giving him a 4-year $117 million deal. And honestly, I don't think that's too bad of a move, because Julius led them to the postseason for the first time in a while, and I think he will continue to have good seasons like this and maybe even improve. I think they just need him to show up in the postseason, but I think he gets a little bit of a pass for his postseason performance, since it was his first time, and their offense was terrible, meaning the defense could focus on him a lot, but now it's not. Right now he's their best player, and despite the fact that I don't think he's good enough to be the #1 option on a legit playoff team, like a team that can go far, because of how he did in the postseason, he still is an all-star level player, and re-signing him to a decent contract definitely is good in my opinion. New York also re-signed Alec Burks to a 3-year, $30 million deal, and Burks is coming off of season averaging 12 points and 4 rebounds while being a decent shot creator and three-point shooter. I definitely think he's someone really valuable to this team because he's a guy who can actually score, and we saw in the postseason he can have big games, as he did have that crazy game that helped them win game 2 versus the Hawks. He's definitely someone I thought they needed to re-sign. They also re-signed Nerlens Noel, who was a big reason to why their defense was so good because he's one of the better rim protectors in the whole NBA. They signed him to a 3-year, $30 million deal as well. I think that's arguably a steal because he's one of the better defensive centers in the whole NBA. I thought he could maybe get somewhere around $13 to $15 million a deal, so that's definitely a W signing. He's really important. They also re-signed Derrick Rose, which was really important because Derrick Rose was the only guy who played consistently well during the playoffs, and he's just a guy who provides them with quality offense. And last year he was one of the best bench players in the whole league. They're definitely going to need his offense if they want to be a middle tier offense, and they signed him to a good contract, which was a 3-year, $43 million deal. I think that's around the money he should be making. So in my opinion, this is a huge W because the Knicks signed 3 role players who are very important to their success, and they extended the contract of their star player, and they didn't overpay for any of their players or anything like that. The only player they lost was Reggie Bullock, who I won't lie was pretty solid for them last season, but they did get Evan Fournier, who's way better, so I don't think it's much of a loss. Plus, Reggie probably wasn't going to get much minutes because they have a lot of guards and shooting guards on their team. The final reason the New York Knicks had a really good offseason, in my opinion, is due to the fact that I'm one of the few people who actually think the Knicks did really well in the NBA draft. And to be honest, the only draft person I'm really going to talk about much is the guy who they selected with the 25th overall pick in Quentin Grimes, because I don't really know much about the others, but I do know about Quentin Grimes, and I know he's one of the players who I thought was going to be a steal in the draft. He's a 6'5" shooting guard who's really strong. He has pretty good handles and he's really fast. He's a guy who likes to slash to the rim. He has a really good quick first step. He's also a really good three-point shooter. He can even hit them off the dribble, and he has the attributes to become a good defender in the NBA. It's just about his effort. I definitely think he can be one of the steals in the draft, and I think it's a huge W that they got him. Also, I should mention the guy they selected with the 58th overall pick in Jericho Sims. He looked pretty good in the summer league, and he was throwing down a bunch of nasty dunks and getting blocks and rebounds, so maybe he could be good in the future. I think that's a pretty good guy to get with the 58th pick, but I don't really know much about the others, I'm not gonna lie, but I think they did pretty good in draft. But to conclude the video, I wouldn't have been surprised if the Knicks screwed up this offseason and lost like a bunch of their key players, are crazily overpaid for guys. They actually didn't do that, and they had one of their better off seasons of the past 5 years. They didn't absolutely go crazy, sign a star or anything like that, but they definitely made their roster better, whereas certain teams just stayed stagnant. They definitely deserve more credit for what they did this offseason, and I just want to give them some. Anyways, guys, that's it for the video. Let me know whether or not you think the Knicks are winners this offseason. Drop a like on this video to help my channel grow. Subscribe to my channel if you want NBA content like this, because I post every single day. Also, I reach my goal of 1,500 subscribers. Also, drop a comment on this video because I do respond to all of my comments. And I'm out.